Hi guys, it's Surya and today I will be explaining how to solve the Fisher cube. I don't know how to explain it, I'm not even gonna try. So it's a shape mod of the 3 by 3 and I suggest you first just get familiar with how it works and stuff before you actually do this. I've divided the video into chapters so that you can easily skip to parts that you want, and I hope you enjoy the video. So before we get into how to solve this, let's just get an intuitive understanding of how to move this around and how this works. So when we hold the cube like this part seems to work perfectly normally. There's nothing unexpected happening like this. But the moment we try to move it like this, weird things start to happen. It doesn't move properly like this, but these two layers just seem to morph like this and then just twist, I guess. And then you'd notice that these lines are just twisted 45 degrees from the 3 by 3, and then you'd think to yourself, wait, maybe this is a 3 by 3 just like this, so these would just be single layers. And you would be absolutely right. This is exactly like a 3 by 3 just twisted by 45 degrees. You can just imagine it like taking a 3 by 3 and just cutting off these edges, I guess, and then just changing the painting or something. Yeah. So when you're holding the cube, you should really be holding it like this. And then you would be wondering, wait, so are you saying these are the centers and these are the edges? Where these are the centers and these are the edges? And I would say yes, these are actually the centers, even though they have two colors. So if you twist it around, you will notice that they are in fact the centers. And you can see as these pieces and these pieces exchange places, these are in fact edges, even though they look like corners. And these are corners, even though they look like edges. See? They're corners. So if you just play around with it for maybe a day or two, you'll start getting an understanding of how this works. The problem is that when it's jumbled, it's just so badly mixed up that it's just so hard to move it. And don't worry about that. With enough practice, you'll be able to figure out how to move this around. Sometimes people can make the mistake of accidentally aligning it like this. Basically, aligning it like this is equivalent to keeping the 3 by 3 like this and trying to move it around. It just doesn't work because these are edges and so are these. So they're supposed to be like this. So they move around. Yeah, so it can be tough to understand, but just practice for some time and you'll get it. So now let's go into exactly how to solve this. So now to solve the first layer, we first need to solve the white cross, which is 4 white edges. This is probably really tricky because of how trippy this looks. So we basically need to find pieces with 3 colors on it, like this. These are actually edges. So here we have one here already. It's a white, red and blue. So we're just going to twist it here. So that's one edge. You can see that for yourself by moving these 2 layers. Now let's align it to its center. It doesn't align here. This is a red and green center. This is a red and blue center, but it's flipped 90 degrees for some reason. And we'll get into that later, not right now. For now, just leave this as it is. Now let's search for another edge. We have one here. Now let's just bring it into this layer. And we can do that by moving this to the side, bringing this here, and bringing this back. So now we have this, but this is not aligned to its center. This is a red and green center, while this is a green and orange edge. So this piece really needs to be going here. Just this piece needs to go there. So how do we do that? Well, we just move this side twice, bringing it to the bottom layer, bringing it right under where it needs to go. It needs to go right there, and then moving this side twice. So that aligns it correctly. Now we just need to find 2 more. I've already found one here. This is a white, red and green, and that needs to go right here. where our previous piece was. So we can just do that by bringing this, by twisting this face anti-clockwise, bringing the piece up where it needs to go, and then just solving this piece. So that aligns this piece correctly as well. Now we only have one piece left and it's over here. So this piece needs to go really there. And how do we do that? We just move this layer this way, bring this up. Now everything's been twisted in one direction, so we just twist it back. Now everything's aligned properly, but the centers are out of place. But we'll fix that once the first layer has been solved. So now let's go into solving the yellow and the white corners. Now because the centers are so two-faced, literally, we need to rely on the colors between the edges. So since both of these edges have a green here, the corner here needs to be a white and a green. Keep in mind that in the Fisher cube, corners have only two colors. So let's search for a white and green piece. It's not here, not here, not here, and not here, which means it must be in one of these four. Not this one, not this one, it's this one. So this piece needs to be going over here. So first let's bring it out of this place. It's not in the right place right now because this place needs to have a white and blue piece. So we can do that by bringing another piece in here. So we just pretend that this is the piece that needs to go there, and we just solve for it as we do. Keep the center in front of you. Bring this to the side, bring this down, bring this back, and bring it up. Now, since this is the exact same algorithm as in the 3x3, I won't be explaining the intuition behind this and many other algorithms. So if you really want to get an understanding of it, I suggest you watch my video on the 3x3. The links are in the description below. So now this piece has been pushed out of its original place. Now we can put it where it belongs. So now we have it right under where it needs to go. This piece needs to go right there. So we keep this center in front of us. Move this to the side. Bring this side down. Bring this back. And bring it up. So that puts this piece in the right place. Let's go on to the next one. This needs a white and a red edge. Let's just search for that. And here it is. This is white and red. It's on the bottom layer with the white side below. So we just keep it right under where it needs to go. Bring any center in front of us. Move this side down and move this layer twice. And move this side back up. Now it's been removed from the bottom layer. It's been twisted. So now we just bring it right under where it needs to go, and we do the same thing as before. We move it away, bring this down, bring this back, and bring it up. We just repeat this process for the next two pieces. We have another that's right below, over here. And that solves this piece. Now let's just do the last one, which is this. This is under where it needs to go, but it's on the right side this time. So we move it in the other direction, not this one. So bring it this way, move this down, bring it back, and bring it up. So that solves this layer. So now we can just keep this below us and do the rest of the algorithms. Now before we go into solving the second layer, just like we do in the 3x3, we need to do one step which is also present in the mirror cube. We need to align the centers correctly. Except here it's more complicated than the mirror cube, since the mirror cube can either have vertical or horizontal edges, centers, while this needs the exact orientation. So let's just go over that. So first let's align this center. Now let's move this side twice and bring these pieces away by moving the bottom layer twice. Now let's align this properly. This is how it really needs to be aligned. We can see that because of these two edges. This is a blue side, so it has its blue side of the center here, and this is the red side. But as soon as you move these three pieces back, the center gets flipped. So we really need to set it 180 degrees away from where it needs to be. We need to set it exactly flipped, so that once we bring it back and turn it 180 degrees, it's correct. So let's just repeat that for the rest of the edges. Let's go over this one and move these away. Now let's set this to the exact opposite orientation of where it needs to be. It needs to be like this, so let's just turn it around and move this back and move this side twice. So that fixes this. Let's do this one. And this needs to be like this now. Bring this back and move this twice. One last. And we have aligned all the centers. Now we can permanently place the white side below us and do the second layer. Now the second layer is probably the easiest of all, since all the second layer edges are all symmetric, so you don't need to worry about which orientation to put them in. So this piece can either go in here like this or like this, it doesn't matter. So this piece needs to go right there. We do it exactly like we would in the 3x3. We move this away, up clockwise, right side clockwise, up anti-clockwise, and right side anti-clockwise. Now up anti-clockwise again, front anti-clockwise, up clockwise, and front clockwise. We can just do that for everything. We don't really need to do it from the other direction in any situation. We just do this exact same thing for all edges. So that solves the second layer already. Now sometimes you can have a situation where we have one edge in the place of another edge. In this situation, you just use the same intuition as you did when you had one corner in the place of another corner. We just pretend that this piece needs to go there and we just place it in there. That removes this piece and puts it where it needs to be. So let's do that. That removes it. Now we can put the right piece in its place. And the same for the last one. So that's the end of the second layer. Now let's just go on to doing the last layer. We have been interrupted once again. Again, we have another step to do before we go on to proceeding as expected. We need to solve something that's called a parity situation, which is only visible in a few cubes. Now, when solving the last layer, we first need to solve the yellow cross. And in that, there are only a few situations you can find when you look at the edges, which are these. Sometimes you can find just a dot, which is no edges up. Like these are not up and this is up. So you can find a dot. You can find a hook, which is two adjacent edges up. You can find a bar, which is two opposite edges, and a full cross. But in a fissure cube, you can also find this, where you have only one edge up, and you can find this, where you have three edges up. So why does this happen? Well, it has to do with the fact that the second layer pieces are all symmetrical. So even if one of them was flipped from their original place, we wouldn't know. And to counter that, one of these needs to be flipped. Basically, in these cubes, you can never have one piece flipped in its place and nothing else be flipped. So if you ever flip one edge, another has to take its place by flipping. Now, if none of them are flipped, then all is good and we can solve as normal. If two of them are flipped, two of these second layer pieces are flipped, then they just balance each other out and we can solve as expected again. And if all of them are flipped, they all just counter each other, two of them and two of them, and we can solve. But when either one or three are flipped, then one of the last layer pieces needs to counter the last one and flip its place. So we just solved this by flipping one of the second layer pieces. And I also promise to never say the word flip ever again. So now let's switch this piece. So now for this, I have a pretty simple algorithm. So it's right side clockwise, up clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, up anti-clockwise, front anti-clockwise, up anti-clockwise, and front clockwise, then up anti-clockwise, right side clockwise, up anti-clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, up anti-clockwise, front anti-clockwise, up clockwise, and front clockwise. What this basically does is this uses our second layer algorithms to remove the piece and then put it in its place but flipped. That's basically the logic of it. I've basically just mashed it both times, and I said flipped, didn't I? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's just go on to solving the second layer as expected. So the first thing we need to do is solve the yellow cross, and the first situation we can get is just the dot. Just ignore the corners. So this is when none of the edges are up. So here we just go wherever we want, and we do the exact same algorithm as we would in 3x3, keeping one center in front of us. Front clockwise, right side clockwise, up clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, up anti-clockwise, front anti-clockwise. That brings us to the next situation, the hook, which is two adjacent edges facing up. Do the exact same thing as before, while keeping one on the right and one towards you. That brings us to the next situation, the bar, two opposite edges. So keep this horizontally and do the same thing again. So that solves the yellow cross. Now we can solve the yellow corners. Now for solving the yellow corners, there are a number of situations you can get, but I'm just gonna go over two of them. The rest are explained in my video on the 3x3. You should check that out because I've explained it in much more detail. So the first one is the cross, where none of the yellows are up. So in this case, you just go to a side where you don't find any yellows on the side. So you find two yellows here and no yellows here. So let's just go over here and do this algorithm. It's the same one as in 3x3. Right side clockwise, up clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, up clockwise, right side clockwise, up clockwise twice, and right side anti-clockwise. So that brings us to the next situation, which I'll be explaining, which is the fish. It's called a fish because it looks like a fish in the 3x3, not in this one. Basically only one corner is up and the other three are not up. So in this situation, you just keep one center in front of you with the up corner to your left, and you do the same algorithm. Now this usually solves the yellow side, but sometimes you can go right back to the fish, in which case you just do the exact same thing as I did again, and that solves the yellow side. There are of course a few more situations, but I won't go into all that. So just like in the 3x3, we first need to solve the corners, rearrange the corners. So the first situation you can get is where none of them are matched to their sides. I mean, if you try aligning them, you'll get two opposite corners matched at most, but we need two adjacent corners to be matched, and in this case there are none, no matter how many times we try. So in this situation, you just go any side you want and you do the same algorithm as you would in the 3x3. So here's what you do: right side anti-clockwise, front clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, back anti-clockwise twice, right side clockwise, front anti-clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, back anti-clockwise twice, and right side clockwise twice. So that aligns two of them. Now you just go to the side opposite to them and you repeat the algorithm. And that solves the corners. If you ever started out with two adjacent ones matched, then you should just go opposite to them and do it, which is what I did just a second ago. Now let's just get into solving the edges. Now the first situation you can get is where none of the edges are matched, but in this case I just want to start with a place where one of them is matched, so that I can explain a problem behind using this technique. So usually what you do in the 3x3 is you go opposite to the solved edge and you do this algorithm. You go front clockwise twice, and then you move up in a direction where the edge matches the center, which is in this case this. So up anti-clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right clockwise, left anti-clockwise, up anti-clockwise, and front clockwise twice. So now all the edges are solved, but the center has been flipped 180 degrees. Now the reason this is a problem only in the Fisher cube is because flipping 180 degrees doesn't make any sort of difference in the 3x3 or the mirror cube, which is why this is a problem unique to this cube and a few others, of course. So let's just see how to solve it. So I'm just gonna undo what I just did. And let's just think about how to solve this. Now each time we move this one step, this gets flipped 180 degrees. And let's think about what we're trying to do here. We have three pieces like this that need to go anti-clockwise. And now moving these three pieces anti-clockwise once is the same thing as moving them clockwise twice. So if we just move them once and twice, they get to where they need to be. So if we just move them in the opposite direction twice, we fix this because this does a full revolution. So let's just see how that would work in real life. Let's go opposite to the solved edge, front clockwise twice, and now instead of up anti-clockwise, which would align the edge, let's do up clockwise now. Right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right side clockwise, left side anti-clockwise, up clockwise, and front clockwise twice. So that doesn't solve the edges and it flips this once. So now we can just solve them one last time and fix this. Now we just move this clockwise once more, except this time it matches correctly, which seems to be a good sign. And as we finish it, we see that the entire cube is solved. So now that we have this information with us, let's see exactly how to do this. So let's start with the situation where we have no edges correctly placed. So here we just go wherever we want and we do the algorithm twice. Now because it can be hard for you to remember this stuff, I just changed the algorithm. So you just do the whole thing and you will get what you want. So here's how it goes. So front clockwise twice, up clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right side clockwise, left side anti-clockwise. Now up clockwise twice, right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right side clockwise, left side anti-clockwise, up clockwise, and front clockwise twice. So that solves one edge. Now let's go on the side opposite to it. Now all these pieces need to move in a clockwise direction. This piece needs to go there, that needs to go there, and that needs to go there. So in this situation, here's what you do. Front clockwise twice, up anti-clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right side clockwise, left side anti-clockwise, up twice, right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right side clockwise, left side anti-clockwise, up anti-clockwise, and front clockwise twice. The next situation we can have is where they all need to move anti-clockwise. So in this situation, you go opposite to the solved side, and here's what you do. Front clockwise twice, up clockwise, right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right side clockwise, left side anti-clockwise, up clockwise twice, right side anti-clockwise, left side clockwise, front clockwise twice, right side clockwise, left side anti-clockwise, up clockwise, and front clockwise twice. So that solves the Fisher cube. I hope you had fun solving this.